here to give us some expert insight into China and its influence on the world, and a man that stood next to that transformer, Stephen Roach, chairman of Morgan Stanley. It's impressive, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, but I don't look as good as Steve Engel does next to that transformer.
Talk to me, welcome by the way, Stephen. Talk to me about GDP tomorrow. It's going to be weaker, but wow, I mean, double digit. You can't complain.
Mark, don't use
weak.
Don't use the word weak.
Exactly.
11.9% in the first quarter was not sustainable. The Chinese know that,
yeah.
and we know that. And there are a number of forces that will lead to slower growth. But the exit growth rate for China this year is probably going to be in the 8 to 9% area, which is an excellent result that paves the way for longer-term sustainability of the Chinese economy.
Some doubted the longer-term sustainability, but you don't seem to have any doubts, do you?
Well, the doubt comes if China stays the course focused on external demand driving exports. That's not going to be there in the post-crisis world, courtesy of problems in Europe and in the United States. So China needs to do exactly what Steve Engel just ended with, transforming the macro structure from exports to internal private consumption.
And is that transformation taking place at a pace which satisfy you, that's credible right now?
No, not yet. They really have to up the ante in putting policies in place that will, number one, build a social safety net to reduce excess saving. Number two, provide support to rural incomes. And number three, generate new sources of jobs in an undeveloped services sector. If they do that, then you're talking sustainability of the biggest consumer in the world.
But we've been talking about boosting domestic demand in China, Stephen. You know, we as in...
Right, for a long time.
Why is it going to happen now?
It has to.
What gives you... Because it has to.
The Chinese are immensely pragmatic. The world is being hit with a massive shock of consumption in the developed world, Europe and the U.S. So if China clings to the old model, attempting to drive its growth in employment and GDP through external demand, it's not going to work, and this is very problematic for China.
In the meantime, talk to me about various measures being implemented. I mean, many are talking about inflation. You know, it's around 3%, which could be a worry. Is it a worry? Is it a big deal, though? And
no, not. You know, the inflation rate is 3.1%, maybe it ticks up to 3.2 or, God forbid, 3.3. These are not serious problems, provided the Chinese stay vigilant and put in place policies that will slow the growth rate, as we said, through the end of this year and into early next year.
So an increase in interest rates, necessary or not?
I think at some point, probably not this year, given what they did on the currency on June the 19th. But they go about managing their economy through a combination of macro policies and micro policies. The actions they took mid-April on the property market are an example of the micro policies that are resulting in a significant cooling off of an overheated sector in China.